for segment 2 with Meet Me in the Middle with Joy and myself and our special guest, Penney Zimmerman. If you didn't see the first part, you need to make sure that you see that because Ms. Zimmerman is talking about some pretty heavy things. She talked about just kind of her walk with Christ and where that has kind of taken her. And we're gonna delve into a little bit more. She talked about being in a comatose state for 7 days and losing 34 pounds. And it's just like, you know, when you hear people's testimony, it's just like, you know, that the hand of God is on this lady because she is still here. And you know what? Everybody, God wants you to tell your testimony. You cannot hold on to it. You're going through different things so that you can talk about the glory of God and you can talk about how he is a healer, he's a provider, he's a way maker, he's our savior, and he's going to do everything in his power to help us resurrect spiritually and to give us the Holy Spirit so that it's burning inside of us so we can run and tell other people. This is not for us to hold on to ourselves. You gotta run and tell other people. Now, I'm gonna press pause because I have aught with my sister Joy because Ms. Zimmerman made her a chocolate cobbler twice, as you guys heard in the first segment. Joy did not call me one time to say, come over and get some chocolate cobbler. So, the Bible tells us that we need to share when we have problems with our loved ones. So Joy, hey, I'm feeling a certain kind of way, okay?
That was good.
You got one coming soon. I have a feeling there's one coming your way.
Okay, I feel better now. I feel better.
I promise you will have a cobbler.
You will.
What is a chocolate cobbler? I must be in the South.
And she had a double batch.
Oh, she telling on you, Joy. She is telling on you. Okay, so we're gonna move that out the way. I just had to get that off my chest. Okay. With this second segment, we're going to talk with Penney about her bout with cancer. And so I know there's a lot to dig into. So Penney, go for it. You were talking with us a little bit before about how you found out, how you had a lump and you had some cystic breast issues and you had a biopsy and then you got that phone call. So kind of lead us back into that a little bit.
Okay. Well, after I got the phone call, it's hard to explain what happens to you, but it's like you go into shock. That's the only way I can describe it. You go into a kind of shock and you don't know what you're supposed to do. So you just do whatever anybody, The doctor told me to see this doctor. So you go to that doctor. He says you've got to have surgery. And then we're going to send you to this doctor. Please, people. One thing I'd like to say here is, Lord put it on my heart to tell you this. Don't do anything quickly. Go through the shock first. Let it set in what's happening. Don't panic. Don't let people tell you need to do this right now. Don't, because the chances are that what you decide now might not be what you would once you got through the shock and had time to let it soak in and think clearly before you make decisions.
That's great.
Decisions on the treatments you make will affect the rest of your life, And I made some wrong decisions during my treatment and stuff, but some I made that now I wish I could go back and change, but we can't change past. I just want people to realize when you're first diagnosed with cancer, you're going to go through a period, even like that. I hate that commercial, but anyway, it says you do go into a kind of a shock era. And it's like, I'm dying. All I could remember thinking is, I'm going to die. So whatever, so I would go to this doctor. He'd tell me you should have both breasts removed. You should do this. You should do that. Well, now here's where my story gets really bad. I can't just have breast cancer and, go and have treatments and surgery. A week after I was diagnosed, I can tell you the exact date on that too, because it changed my life totally forever. But on February 11th, 2005, 1 week after I was diagnosed with breast cancer, I had been sick for a couple of months. Even my bosses noticed that my work had been falling and stuff. And I just assumed it was like a flu, or something. But we worked in the back part of Huntsville Hospital, and they're not going to appreciate me telling this story. But I worked in the old part of the medical records department at Huntsville Hospital in 2005. They were remodeling a lot of the area, but a lot of the duct system for the air, it used to leak a lot. And we'd have buckets everywhere to catch the water. So I would dump all the buckets and try to keep everybody else from having to do it. I also had a candy drawer. They'll tell you I always kept a candy drawer for candies, tons of candy for people at 3 o'clock. Us workers would get tired around 3 o'clock. But anyway, I'd empty all these buckets. Well, come to find out on February 11th, I got up to go to work early that morning, and I never missed work. People knew I didn't. I called and said I was having a little trouble. Come to find out, I had 105, almost 106 fever. I couldn't breathe. I was turning blue. Called an ambulance. They put me in ICU. I was in ICU for 7 days. Come to find out, I had developed Legionnaires pneumonia because my immune system was low from having the breast cancer that I did not realize I had. I was diagnosed with Legionnaires pneumonia.
Wow.
I was diagnosed with Staphylococcus pneumonia, and I had sepsis. I was dying. They told my sister to call my family in and to pray because I would not survive the weekend. This was on a Friday night. And my sister, if you knew my sister, she's what we call a prayer warrior.
Yes.
So she called everybody and she had them to start praying. Now this is on Friday night. They told her I would not survive till Sunday night. All the people I worked with started coming into, they told her to call in my family to say goodbyes. And she said no. So they all started praying and everything. I was still alive 7 days later. That was the big testimony. But during this time that I was in ICU and I was in another, I guess, near death or whatever, but I had a near death where they had to bring me back. But during that time, it was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen or done. My father passed away in 1989, and he always took me fishing. So during the time that I was in ICU, my sister said, I talked about fishing. I was in a boat with my father. He looked like he did the last time I saw him, but we were talking about today's stuff. He says, you can't stay here. And I know most of you have seen that in the movies, and I thought, that's just a story. That stuff it does happen. I was in that boat with him fishing, and it was as if it was today. And he was telling me, we were fishing, and my favorite thing about him when I was growing up was the fishing part. So the Lord put me in that boat while I was fighting for my life, and why he was working with me then to save my life. And it was the most beautiful thing. It was so perfect. And I didn't want to come back. I wanted to stay there. I said, and I remember telling him, no, I'm going to stay here. I want to stay with you. He said, no, you have to go back. And then I heard my sister's voice telling me, but pardon my French, this is how she said it. She doesn't curse. She told me to get my ass back here.
As she should have said.
Look, in her best prayer warrior voice.
Yes.
Sometimes
My sister was, at the time, she was very angry because they were telling her I was not going to survive.
Yeah.
We are very close. I wish she would do a testimony, but she's shyer than I am. But anyway, I wanted people to realize this, that those near death that they're always saying don't. And believe me, I was the biggest skeptic there is, because when I came back and I remembered this finally, I said, oh, it was just hallucinations and all that. But the Lord told me that was not a hallucination. He had put me into a safe place that I wanted to be in while my body and everything was dying. and while he was saving me. So that started out my breast cancer thing. So when I got through all that, finally, I was in ICU for 7 days. And then when I came out, the doctors wanted me to hurry up and have surgery. So 6 weeks later, I was in a major surgery and having my breasts, they couldn't remove both breasts because I'd been so sick. So they decided they would remove one. I didn't know if I had, metastatic disease, because that's when they find out. For people that are new or newly diagnosed, when you have breast surgery, what they do is that when they go in to remove a breast, they do a sample of the sentinel lymph nodes to make sure that you don't have metastatic disease in the lymph node, because that's a true sign of that it could be somewhere else. That's just kind of like the start of it. But during the time before, you will have PET scans, CAT scans, MRIs, for them looking for secondary metastatic disease in other parts like the bone or whatever. But anyway, when they went in, my sister told me before surgery, I said, I'm gonna look at your face when they wake me up, and I'm gonna know if I've got metastatic disease. And because already this time I thought I was gonna die anyway, But when I woke up, sure enough, she wasn't smiling. And I asked her, I said, how bad is it? She said, well, you do have metastatic disease, So they had taken out a lot of lymph nodes, and they were, positive for cancer. And then came to find out my breast was totally full of cancer.
Oh, wow.
And I was too sick at the time for them to take off the other one, which I now regret, But anyway, after I got through this, the first night and this is horrible, and I know for the women that have been through this, my heart goes out to you, because I know what this does to you. When my sister had to, you have all these drains and all this awful stuff. Your whole chest and arm is bandaged. They ripped the bandages off my chest in one jerk. And the pain was so, I can remember it today. I still cringe.
Wait a minute. Wait. So do they have to do that?
Well, they say it's better than trying to take it off slowly.
Yeah.
My sister fainted
Yeah.
because I screamed so,
No.
you know.
No, they would have had to take it off slowly.
And when they ripped it off and she saw what all had been cut off, she fainted. And when she fainted, it did something. When she fainted, she says she fainted because it wasn't because of my blood and, you know, all that awfulness. She says she fainted because they didn't give her time to be prepared for it. And she was tired. Yeah, I said, sure, you can tell me that all you want to.
Yeah.
You know, but she actually, I went, oh God, is she okay? You know, after I quit screaming.
Yeah, so hang on. So
Okay.
just so everybody knows, and just to remind everybody, this was 17 years ago, right?
This was what started.
Just a month ago. So we're recording on March 11th right now, and this happened back in February. Well, I guess it would have been March of 2005, yeah?
Yeah, March 23rd, 2005
Yeah.
is when this happened, that started right before the treatments and all that.
So
But
literally,
I'm trying to get the worst parts.
yeah,
So
no, keep going. I'm just telling everybody it was 17 years ago. I hope they have better tape now and bandages. That's all I got to say. I'm just hoping to goodness they found a better way to rip that. But
Because otherwise, I'm gonna need your sister, prayer warrior.
It is the most
As an advocate.
awfulest
Yeah.
pain. They couldn't have done worse if they'd have took a butcher knife and, you know, ripped me open. But when they did that and she hit the floor after I screamed, you know, and they kind of moved her over, you know, and started working on me. But anyway, we got through that night all right, and she was okay. And my nieces were there. My little nieces, they were sleeping. Thank God they were sleeping.
Yeah.
Because she didn't have anybody to watch them that day. So, but anyway, she came and she took care of me. I was so devastated when I first saw what had happened to me.
Sure.
Yeah, you can't imagine the butcher. I mean, the surgeons were, good at what they do, but to me, it was like butchery to have part of me removed like that.
So do they give you like the scar? Is it like several scars or is it just like one scar?
I don't look at it much. I still don't. I still have a real problem with it.
Okay.
To me, it's awful.
Yeah.
It's awful what it does. I did when I got through with it, I didn't feel like a woman much anymore, a person.
Did they give you an opportunity to be a candidate for breast replacement, like an augmentation?
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
I was supposed to have reconstruction surgery,
Okay.
but I was so bitter and angry about not just the breast cancer. I lost my job because of the chemotherapy. My job that I'd left. And you know what's really bad too? And I laugh now, but back then I thought I went through a time when I hated God. And I know we've all done that before, but I mean, I was angry and I was mad because the only reason I made it after that, because I couldn't go back to work. Because see, I was still trying to go back to work all the time. Even after I did what they call the worst chemotherapy. I went into a, research mode.
Okay.
I had already given up. I had already said, I'm going to die. So my death, I want it to matter some way. I didn't have any children due to 2 failed marriages. And I thought, well, I'm going to go into research and let them experiment on me. And maybe the next person, it won't be quite as bad as it was on me. So my sister didn't like this. She's still mad at me about this. But I went into a research clinical study with Dr. Philip McGee, and he is awesome. Anybody needs an oncologist, see Dr. Philip McGee.
Okay.
But anyway, am I supposed to, maybe I'm not supposed to say that, but anyway.
No, that's good. That's good. You're good.
He is awesome. He saved my life so many times, but I did the experimental treatments. I took 4 kinds of chemo. One was what we call, and anybody knows anything about chemo, it's called adriamycin. Back then, 17 years ago, it was one of the strongest, deadliest chemotherapies. A lot of people that I went into treatment with did not survive. And I'm looking around all the time going, why am I still here? Some of the people, you asked that because some people were younger than you, and they were in better shape than you, but you're surviving this and you wonder why, and I was always asking the Lord, I call him the big guy, and I asked him, why am I still here? Why don't I just, go? Because at that time I really didn't care much. I was going through a phase. I was angry. I was mad. I had just had my job taken because the chemotherapy made me so sick and hurt so much, and all the complications you get, like, low blood, anemic, malnourishment, because you can't eat, because you can't taste anything but metal. Your mouth is full of sores. It's an absolute nightmare. And all the people going through chemo now, it's come a long way since then.
Yeah. So Penny, when they give you the chemo, or when they gave you the chemo, was it through an IV? Was it how was it administered to you?
Okay. Yeah, that's something I should have talked about too, because that was another ordeal. Between all I am a needle phobic, and I always will be. Okay. But because of all the blood work they have to take and all that, they put a port in my chest.
Okay.
And they have to put you to sleep to put this port in. But the first time I had chemotherapy, my sister went with me in. And to watch that, when they hung those bags, I would do 2 kinds of chemo at a time. One would be the adriamycin, and that is the reddest. It almost looks like blood, but it's not as pretty as the color of blood. But you have to watch that poison that is going to go into your body and make you sick and in pain, and that's going to kill you. Maybe watch it go into that IV. You feel it. You feel it when the first time you take it, you feel the burn as it goes into your body.
Does it burn the entire time?
No, It didn't mean
Just
nothing.
the
The
initial.
first time, the initial, by the time you start, I had to take every 3 weeks. It was so bad that you could only do it every 3 weeks, you know. And what my sister would say was she'd bring me home and I'd be sick as you can't even imagine. You want to live in the bathroom, just move in there and just forget everything and just stay there because you're so sick all the time. You lay on the floor, you know, it's like if any of you have ever been wild and had a night that you drank a little too much, and you know what hugging the porcelain is?
Yeah.
Yes.
When you go through chemotherapy and stuff, that porcelain becomes your best friend forever.
Wow.
And then the cool floor is a good friend too,
Wow.
you know. And you dream for the day that you can actually taste something you have to eat.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
but anyway, I went through chemotherapy treatments for, oh God, it seemed like years, I know. But I did 4 kinds of chemo for probably 2 years, I figure, because we had to stop because I got so sick a couple of times, they have to postpone. And then you have to kick up on it. But then after, I think it was 6 months, I thought, oh, I'm over, yay, I don't have to do it no more. I'll never forget the day I went in thinking this is my last chemotherapy. It's like Christmas and July 4th and everything all in one day, you know?
Yeah.
And they told me I had 6 more months.
Ah,
I did a meltdown. So you know what they did? From then on, every time I came for my chemotherapy treatments, because I was very angry and mad, they would give me this big dose of Benadryl and I'd sleep for the whole therapy.
good.
But my poor sister would have to, she would go around visiting and helping everybody else while I slept because they didn't want to deal with any more of my meltdowns, you know, because you're like a child. It's so much pain and agony for so long. And it's okay, people, throw a fit, be angry, be sad, do all the things. Don't hold it in and try to be the tough guy like I did. You know, I didn't have a spouse or, you know, a boyfriend, anything. It was just me, you know, my poor sister. But I'd send her home before I threw my biggest fits. But yeah, tell people how you feel. You know, ask God to, and I did. I said, God, help me get through this all the time. Even though I'm mad at you, you know, I'd say stuff like that because like I said, the big guy and me, we've had a long relationship. I mean, I wasn't, but anyway, what I want to say too is while I was going through all this agony and pain and all that, and people that have never had cancer but have a spouse or a family member, hug them, tell me how you feel. Tell me, you know, what can I do to help you and all that. You know, I've seen so many families go through this and the husbands would hold their hands and things. And then I saw people come without anybody. You know, I'd ask them, where's your family? You know, are you married? You know, and they say, yes, but he's having a really hard time with this. And I saw people that broke my heart that they would get divorces because the husband couldn't deal with what they were dealing with or something. And I've seen too much agony in my 17 years, too much pain and hardship and people trying to survive. Not only are you trying to survive cancer, chemotherapy, and plus I had to take a year of Herceptin, which thank God they don't do anymore because it caused heart damage. I was one of the lucky ones that didn't, but there were a lot of people that, you know, that's why I say, I look back now and I think of all the things he's done for me, all that he has carried me through, you know, that I thought I crawled through. He carried me through this stuff. He is awesome. I can't say enough about going through it. I don't know how I survived that 17 years because I had a lot of complications. I won't go into all because we don't have that much time of all the things I've been through, but all the things he put there for me to help me survive, you know. My sister was raising 3 girls and it was hard for her. She couldn't stay with me all the time. So it was just me and the big guy, you know, but if it got to where I needed somebody real bad to do something for me, say I couldn't take my garbage out or even little things, you know, I needed something or I wanted, it was like a miracle, you know, somebody come to my door or I would meet somebody and they say, is there anything I can help you with? I've been through it all again. I think, okay, all right. Okay, you win. You win.
Well, what I love too is God has just, then and now is just reminding you,
Yes.
Penny, I was there all along. I've been there all along.
Yes.
And all those times somebody just happened to stop in, that was me sending them there. And when you live through that, that was me getting you through that. And I'm still fascinated with this whole 7-day thing you tend to have.
Me too.
Twice you've talked about the 7-day comatose kind of a thing where God, just ministered something to you. And we're going to talk some more in a minute here in our next session about a little bit more about your treatment and recovery, right?
Yes.
And in that session, I want you to tell people some things that you wish you had done differently, even though God obviously has sustained you through so much. But yeah, there's a lot more to this story, and we're going to hear some more in the next session, which will be session 3.
It's a long story.
All right, looking forward to it.